And I would like to share with you some short information about the situation around the gender issues in Poland today. Probably you are aware that a couple of days ago there was a group of activists from LGBT movement who have been arrested in Warsaw. As well, among them, the people were just simply being arrested just because they were walking in the streets. A similar situation is going to happen today in Krakow. A group of activists put the pride flag on one of the statues in Krakow, and probably today gonna hear some words from the side of a prosecution against them. So the very first thing is not to make you get bored with a subject. I'm not trying to put you into this simple division in between good and bad, tolerance or not tolerance, acceptance, not acceptance of one of the groups. I would be happy if you would spend a couple of minutes and sink into this, what I'm going to say right now. First of all, you're incapable to check me out. You don't know. Whatever I say, as well I am unable to say it about my own information and sharing with you. What is happening is correct in scientific academic terms for very important reasons. One reason is the language. Since the Cold War, most of the Western universities shut down the Slavic departments in the countries, so you don't have translators today. You don't have translators, which can be an independent academic workers, so you are enabled to gather information on your own what is exactly happening in Central Europe. I've been in situations when I was giving a paper to publications, giving a sources from Central Europe, and I heard like, we cannot check this out. That is a very common issue. So when you will look at this from a certain distance, you will see we have a certain structure, an invisible wall of information, an invisible bubble of information around the area of Poland, especially today, in a context of gender issues. And being focused only on LGBT movement is incorrect because it's a wider spectrum. It's as well touch the family and understanding what the family is, a role of mother, father in heterosexual relation as well. Where is the child? Where is the state? What is the influence of a state toward the interest of a child? It's all connected here. It's not like that group and there's another group. In this case, in Poland, it's all connected. This is the fundamental problem we are dealing here. And what we're dealing here is that the language structure, its grammatical form, used by the grand narrative in Warsaw is not exactly what you would probably use in a certain terms in UK, Germany, France, United States, Japan, whatsoever. And I'm not speaking about the cultural differences. I'm speaking about the way how the communication goes. For example, the term LGBT ideology is unknown term in the global West, while is commonly used in Poland in the media. So that creates a certain aspect of force of a communication which goes towards the people from a distance of the state, represented today by the people like President Duda or Prime Minister Morawiecki, who is using terms like this is a LGBT ideology. Now, other aspect is people here since like 20-30 years, they discuss or at least try to understand the subject of the public space, which is not being taught in schools. Most people don't understand here what the public space is. they as well do not understand what is a relation between a citizen and the state. What are the duties of a citizen towards the state, and vice versa, beyond a political subject. They think it's a subject of democracy versus communism or post-communism act of behavior. Which is not exactly how it is, because we all pay taxes, right? And the other thing is the term used today commonly in the subject of gender issues is the subject of the tolerance, which is tricky because when we look at a certain experiments, sociological experiments, and outcomes of those experiments made by Hofstede and Minkoff, published 10 years ago about that population, Polish people are, I would say, how I see the outcome of this research is they are simply passive-aggressive. They are neither high contextual or low contextual in the information they give. There is a huge lack of empathy towards human suffering, and it can be a non-heterosexual person, but as well it can be a child which is being abused by one of the parents. We have a race of aggression of female members of the families versus against the children in Poland recently. We have a raising element of children raised without the parents, because the parents grow and work. They grow without the parents because the parents are living in the other countries and earn money, and actually children are being educated here because education in Poland is free still, so you don't pay for education, so parents leave their children here, which been raised by grandparents, and according to the sources will be around almost 1 million of Polish children to be raised by without the parents, mostly seeing the parents by Skype or Messenger, or communicating with them by telephone, while they being day by day raised by the elder generation. And the elder generation, well, they are traditional, as we all know, and they are not willing to let the children to develop into the modern world with all diversities happening up there. So in case of gender issues in Poland, we have this family issue here very strong. Role in the family, a role of grandmother, very strong in this community, which is not being visible from the outside. And as I said on the beginning of the speech, you are incapable to check what I'm saying, because with a high probability you are incapable to check this out in your own sources in the global West, because you don't have the outcomes of research of the Polish researchers about this subject gathered over the last 20 years in your books. You are blind. So what you see only a certain outcome of the situation, where one of the vice ministers of justice, Mr. Kaleta, has own private police right now, and his own private judge and his own private prosecutor who is capable to put a girl to the arrest for 2 months for putting a pride flag on a statue, because he has friends who can do it for him, right? More or less it looks that way right now. It's not too much to do with any democratic standards, but the question is, do we ever had any democratic standards in case of Central Europe? This population was moved from the east toward west. Up to the 60s, a huge part of that population was illiterate, and they've been told how to write and read already in the 50s and 60s. So the only knowledge they get from like the memory, the access to the global memory, which literature gives, written word gives, they got for like last 3 generations only. These are just little differences you're gonna see from the outside. So for now, I would be more than happy if you look on what is happening in Poland as well in a context of um, gender, in a context of family relation. This is where we are having this strong conflict, which will grow because these kids raised only by grandparents will raise, and they will have own issues without own experience, life experience, while the other part of the society will be more diverse. As well, in a state which is actually a parody of the well structuralized democratic country. I kindly remind you that Poland is on one of the latest places in an innovation index in science in Europe, and it's as well connected to that issue as well, because we are not dealing with enough amount of so-called middle class people. It's not, it literally is not enough of them to create a certain mass to be called a democratic society right now. This is a huge problem. So be aware that what is happening actually here now, it's not the end, but it's not the beginning as well. It's a tide. It's a tide, and its tide is slowly, step by step, raising its own force. Thank you.